Alright guys, I just did a video on lubing my chain and how I use gear oil to keep it oiled up and clean. And I thought another thing while I'm sitting here looking at this bike, since I just got done riding it and I'm kind of going back through after the ride, checking stuff out. It's a pretty rough ride. Got a clutch lever that's customized now. I've seen a few other things on here that I'm going to have to go through and kind of look at, but one of the things I like to do when I get done riding, I get some time, is to go through and check my brakes, check my chain slack, grease the chain, just look it over. And I like to do it as soon as possible. That way I know it's ready to go, so when I get time to go ride, I'm not having to mess with it and I'm not having to worry about it when I'm out riding. I mean, the worst thing you want to do is have something that you could have fixed in the garage and now you're 10 miles from your truck and you got to walk out in MX racing boots to get back to your truck because the bike's broke, because you didn't oil your chain, because you didn't have the slack set right. There's a lot of things. So let's talk about chain slack. So chain slack is the amount of slack your chain has in it, which is, every manufacturer has a specification that they will give for their bike to have the different amounts of slack in them. You don't have your chain too tight or you don't have your chain too loose. And the reason for the slack is because as the swing arm, as you're riding and the swing arm is traveling, your angle from your counter shaft down to your drive shaft, or drive axle I guess, is constantly changing. So you need the slack in the chain when it's loose or when it's hanging freely to make sure you don't put too much tension on it. If a chain's too tight, obviously it's going to accelerate the wear of the chain. It's going to accelerate the wear of the gears. It's going to be hard on the transmission. It's not great. And just the same if the chain's too loose, you're still going to accelerate the wear on parts and pieces. I can't remember what it's called, but I think you'd have a lot more where you get real tight whenever you take off, like a lot more high tension events maybe. And you can run the chance of the chain jumping off the sprocket, which I've never had it happen on a dirt bike. It's happened on bikes before, but I can imagine that could be pretty catastrophic if you're riding along, and all of a sudden the chain comes off. It could go through your crankcase. You could wrap up the sprocket and lock the back tire up. It could do a lot of bad stuff. So chain slack. What I generally do, and I've had good luck with how I do mine, and I don't know what the Yamaha spec is. This YZ didn't have it on the swing arm, the WR might, but I usually just do the 3-finger rule and maybe use a little bit of swag on that to give it a little bit more than the 3 fingers. But basically the 3-finger rule is you put in your swing arm with your 3 fingers and you just see if you can't get your 3 fingers in there, it's too tight. If you get your whole hand in there, it's too loose. Mine's, I don't know, this one's good enough for me. It was pretty close. This is a relatively new chain, so it may loosen and stretch a little bit. I think it's probably like 50 miles on it. So, it's probably stretched a little bit, but it's not too bad. I don't think it's too crazy. Another thing with the chain that you'll notice when you got a loose chain is you've got a lot of chain slap. This one doesn't do it as bad. The WR, which is still pretty new to me, I've noticed it kind of sounds like, I don't know, like marbles or gravel. If you're in a higher gear to low RPM, it's just you can tell what it is, but it's where you got the chains flapping around making some noise. So not a horrible big deal, but it is kind of annoying, and it is something that makes you stop and think maybe you should look into it more and see what's going on. So what do we do if our chain slack is wrong? If it's too loose, if it's too tight. So what we do, you've got these 2 adjusters on both sides of your wheels or your axle. So that's a 12 millimeter, this one's a 10. So that's like a set nut to hold it in place, which you can tell from our ride yesterday, mine was not holding it in place. So you tighten down this 10 millimeter bolt, it will slide the axle out. Well, you loosen it, it'll slide the axle in as you push it. So the technique, I'm not going to do it on mine yet, but the technique and the thought process, loosen your axle nut, don't take it all the way off, just loosen it, and then you want to loosen these two set nuts on here on both sides, and then depending on whether you need to move it in or out, you know, obviously if you need to move it in, you tighten push the bolts into the swing arm, kick this thing, bump it a little bit. This will slide forward until it butts up against these bolts, and then you'll hold your wrench on this the 10 millimeter and tighten down the 12 until that's locked in place. These also have some little tick marks on them that you can compare these blocks. I maybe use those as a reference. It's not a huge thing for me. Generally what I'll do is after I get done with it, I'll look at the back tire in reference to the swing arms and the frame. And you know, this one's, it seems relatively straight. And this bike's not as much a big deal in my mind because it's more of a trail bike and enduro bike that I ride it. It's not like I'm on the street going 80 miles an hour. So that's kind of, you'll be able to tell if it's cocked or not. But you can use these tick marks to kind of get an idea. And then you'll tighten these back down. Now, let's see if I can mess with that real quick. See if I can get it. Some of these can be kind of tough too, because they're kind of tough to get to, especially with normal size wrenches. See, I'm thinking I think mine's pretty good where it's at on the chain wise. I don't really. My chain slack looks pretty good. The bike ring good. Bike ring really good. Hit a pretty rough trail. Had a good time, but this thing, it's a 2-stroke, and it kept loading up going down the hills. And had a couple times it got pretty loaded up and didn't want to start. Ended up having to turn the gas valve off, and actually after I did that and after kicking it for about 20 minutes, I turned the gas valve off and it fired right up. So that's a little tidbit. Okay, so see, I'm holding this one tight and I'm tightening that. Okay, so now that's good. The other side was good. So I'll try to video it next time I mess with one. I'll probably mess with WR. I've probably gone through the rear wheels on it and greased it up, but it's pretty straightforward. You know, the main thing when you get your axle put back in, the end of this axle sits against this piece. And then, you know, your axle nut, you want to torque it down to spec. Look that up, see what it is. Ask ChatGPT. You know, torque it down to spec. That's a pretty critical part. Make sure your tire is relatively straight. A lot of guys use tape measures, and they'll measure. I don't know what they measure from. I guess they'll measure from their axle or something to make sure they're even on both sides. But I've had good luck with just eyeballing mine. So that's kind of that. You know, check your chain slack, get an idea, understand how it works, understand the reason behind it, that it is pretty critical and crucial. You know, a lot of people say after you install a new chain and sprocket like I have on this one, you know, give it a couple rides. I don't know how many miles, but like I said, this one's got like 50 miles of trails on it, and the chain a little bit slacker. I don't think it's enough for me to worry about right now. But when you do install a new chain, it'll stretch, so you got to check it, you got to adjust it. And one of the signs, if you continuously keep getting a loose chain after loose chain after loose chain, keep having to adjust it, that's a sign that your chain's on its way out and it's stretching. So, you know, that's something to look for. But it's always good to understand this stuff, and it's always good to look at it. And like I said, I always like to do mine as soon as I can when I get done riding, so I know it's set up and it's ready to go for the next chance I get to get out and go ride on it. So, you know, it's a 10-minute job. It's not too bad. All right, well, I appreciate y'all watching, and I'll see if I can get something else filmed. Thanks.